Hey, folks, welcome to Market Intraday Analysis by InTheMoneyStocks.com, your leaders in pure technical analysis, avoiding all that Wall Street hype. This video for Wednesday, April 27th, 2011 is sponsored by Realtic. All right, folks, let's get right into the mix here. Looking at the charts, we can clearly see the markets are hovering near the highs of the day. We just had the Federal Reserve FOMC Policy Statement announced, and nothing really changed. They basically said they're going to end their QE2 600 billion bond buying program in June as thought. And again, the dollar, based on the dovish comments by the Federal Reserve, fell almost instantly as soon as they made their announcement. That's why the markets went up. Remember how we've always talked about the market moving in the opposite direction of the dollar? So as the dollar fell, we saw the markets rip higher, going right to a perfect double top and actually stalling out here. Now, the Federal Reserve will be out at 2:15 p.m. Ben Bernanke will be doing a press conference at that point, and that's the next little thing the market's going to look for. So I think you're going to stay in this general range, maybe go a little bit higher into that time frame, and then once we get the press conference, we'll watch for a reaction in the market as questions are asked to him. Now, the big question in my mind is, do we see a kind of scripted analysis, or do we see any sort of real questions? And you guys know what I'm saying in that respect. Are we going to see these questions actually being real legitimate questions, or kind of layups or soft pitch softball throws? All right, so that's again what I'm watching for at that point. It's the first day this Federal Reserve type announcement is going to be going on. And again, I'll be following the markets intraday in the intraday stock chat at that point. We'll be trading and analyzing. All right, now, again, the markets opened higher today on a little bit of a weaker dollar. We did see commodities hovering flattish to slightly lower early, but as soon as the dollar dropped, we did see silver race to the upside. Take a look at the move on silver. See how silver jumped here? This is the SLV chart on my Realtic software, and clearly you can see silver taking off now, pulling back a little bit, and that's only because the dollar took a big hit. Look at this drop on the dollar. This is the UUP chart, which is the dollar ETF. So a nice drop on the dollar, and that's why the market shot up. That's why silver shot up. And if you want to take a look at the GLD, which is the gold chart, look at that. Look at this jump. It all coincided. That's why, I stress so much that you have to pay attention to the dollar. Many people that are traders or investors, they say, well, who cares what the dollar does? Well, it actually does play a big role here, because as the dollar has fallen, the markets go higher. And Bernanke knows that. And the Federal Reserve knows that. And that's why they like the weak dollar policy, because it generally keeps the markets positive and going higher. All right, let's go back to the SPY. We're going to talk about a couple different stocks in play today. Right now, though, the big level you're watching on an intraday SPY trade is this 135.05 to 10 level. That's your current resistance. I do think that breaks to the upside at some point today. That's my feeling thus far. So just be realistic about that. Remember, people are going to be optimistic again after this reaction by the Federal Reserve. They're going to think that their press conference is going to probably be more optimistic. Therefore, you're going to see the markets inch a little bit higher. After the announcement, who knows how the market reacts tomorrow? I'm not really sure on that. We'll analyze that in tonight's Research Center video. And remember, there's a free trial, 1 week free trial, folks. If you're not taking advantage of the free trial, I think you're crazy. I mean, that's why it's a free trial, to take advantage of it. We had made plenty of money regardless of the market for our members. You can take a free trial, get involved, learn from the pros, and get swing trades. All right. Now, let's go over a couple other charts here. Number one, if we do go higher on the SPY, you might want to wonder, well, what's the next resistance level? What's your next point of interest on the SPY? It would be 135.45 to 50. That would be your next big resistance level. And after that, I'm not going to cover the level after that. You'll have to pay attention to tonight's Research Center video, which again is around 30 to 40 minutes in length. Now, if we go to the dollar, you just want to follow the dollar this afternoon. Dollar again is kind of floating sideways after that initial fall. When Ben Bernanke does his press conference, are we going to see another downward move in the dollar? If the dollar falls, expect the markets to go higher. All right, that's my expectation. I think the dollar will continue to be weak until it hits around 20.95 on the UUP, at which point I think it does find a short-term bottom as we get closer to the June end of QE2. All right. What else do we want to look at? Chevron today is down about 45 cents. That even got a nice bid up. Now, why would Chevron get a bid when the Federal Reserve came out and made their announcement? Well, essentially, remember, when the Fed made their announcement here at 12:30 p.m., the dollar dropped. When the dollar drops, what does oil usually do? It goes in the inverse, right? And sure enough, if we punch up the USO, you can clearly see. Look at that nice pop right there on oil. So oil jumps up, and sure enough, when oil goes higher, chances are Chevron, Exxon, all the oil stocks are going to get bids. So sure enough, that's what happened. And again, if we look at the CVX chart, it is moving up. Although I do think the oil stocks are overall sells out there. If you have a longer term horizon, a swing trade outlook of a month to 6 months out from now, I think all these oil stocks are much, much lower. I explained this in an article I wrote today that's posted on the Rant and Rave blog. I talked about Chevron, Exxon, Sandridge Energy, a bunch of these other ones, even BP to some extent, although BP is somewhat immune because they could go up based on getting through this whole mess in the Gulf of Mexico. Their stock is not nearly back to where it was, so that might be a positive for that one stock, but that's stock specific. Overall, if oil gets above 115, markets are going to sell. People are going to use less oil, so demand drops. Therefore, these oil companies lose some money based on people not buying or traveling as much. If the markets drop because oil's dropping, those stocks go down as well. So really, if oil goes up, the stocks go down, and if oil goes down, the stocks go down as well. It's a catch-22. There's really no way around it at this point, and that's why I think these oil stocks are sells. And if you go to the daily chart of the Chevron here, take a look at this. I mean, just since last July, June, July, you're talking about Chevron being up over 60%. I mean, we're not talking about a small cap here. This is a large cap, massive stock, one of the biggest stocks in the world, just like Exxon is. Chevron has a market cap of $217 billion right now, and Exxon has a market cap of $431 billion. So you just have to think, again, with those market caps, that type of advancement. I mean, just think about that. ExxonMobil up about 60% off the lows here as well. That's a 60% increase in market cap, or basically about 150 million or so. I mean, it's a huge amount, unbelievable amount of market cap advancement. All right, let's go back to the SPY. I just want to touch base on here. I won't talk about the daily chart. Remember, that's for analysis in the nightly video for my members in the Research Center. You want the calls. I did put out a new trade, so if you haven't signed up for the free trial, you want to get that trade, you want to go sign up right now in the Research Center. I posted it last night. It hasn't triggered yet, but it's getting closer and closer to triggering, and I do like it quite a bit. All right, spiders still can't get through the 135 and change level right here. That's your upside resistance. We'll see if we do float neutral to higher. Volume is going to die out very quickly until that 215 time frame today as well. So pay attention to that. Last but not least, let's just go over some stocks out there. Baidu and the internet China plays are starting to see some weakness. Yesterday, Baidu topped out at around 155. Since then, it's all the way back to underneath 150. And granted, it's had a good bounce here, but nonetheless, you have to think that this stock is due for a little bit of a correction. When you look at the longer-term chart going back to 2009, it's up from basically $10, and this is taking into account the split, obviously, $10 to 155 in that amount of time. Same thing with Sina, SINA, down about $6 today. Look at this move up just from 2010 right here, underneath $40, topped out at around 147 or so. And especially look at the recent run. Basically, from this necktie pullback, and by the way, this is a great example of a little confirmation move. Confirms to the upside, pulls back to the necktie, and then races up from basically $85 all the way to about $147, which is a huge move just in the last 2 months or so. In any case, you are seeing them come back in. Cena, this is a nice down day today, down about $6. So who's not doing as bad? It's actually bucking the trend here, up about $375. But that even topped out yesterday and had a nice down day. NetEase, NTES, down 50 cents. Look at the fall on this one over the last week. So you do see the Chinese internet stocks starting to meet some resistance, starting to find some selling out there. Other groups in play, the ag stocks are actually having a little bit of a weak move today. Potash is down $1.77. Monsanto is up slightly, up 30 cents, but Mosaic is down $1.87 on the day here as we look at our real tick charts. Now, the key again to watch on this Mosaic is going to be the 200 moving average. If you get to that 200 moving average, that's going to be the key right there on the charts. So pay attention to that, no doubt about that. All right, one other trade. I called out a few trades. This morning was a decent trading day in the intraday stock chat. Remember, there's a free trial for that too. And the trade called out today was a beauty at the key level here. Let me just bring up my intraday charts here. This area right down here happened to be major support. The reason why you could see this support is because it was a gap fill right here. Draw this trend line right across. Look at that. See this area right here, this gap fill little pivot area, right to that point. That was the long call this morning, and it turned out to be a beauty. Look at the size of the bounce from basically 94.90 was the call, and right now we're at 96, but it went as high as 96.50. So a huge bounce on CLF, Cliffs Natural Resources. There was also a great scalp this morning on Devon Energy that was called out as well. A perfect little gap fill right down here. pierced it beautifully, and then started to make a major move up. Look at that move up right there as well. So the scalps are there. Again, if you're an intraday trader, or if you just want intraday information, you want to join the Research Center and Intraday Stock Chat. And again, if you're more of a swing trader, then the Research Center is for you. Take that free trial now. And again, join the growing ranks of educated investors and swing traders making tons of money, regardless of what the market does, regardless of what the Federal Reserve does. We're here to make money. Take care, guys.